Ladies and gentlemen, you have come here to join us on a somewhat somber night. This is Tech Talk Night, episode number 40. I am here joined by my inevitable co-host up in Chicago, Mr. Gavin Rankamper. How are you, sir? I will have you video in a second, and there you are.
I love that you always call me inevitable at this point. Like,
yes.
I wish I could change it, but I can't.
You are my inevitable co-host. That is how it has turned out.
Have you heard the news? So the news why we're somber tonight, as Brain alluded to, is that Steve Jobs has passed away today. It was announced by Apple today around 6 p.m. Central. Their website has taken over with a single message talking about Steve Jobs. Twitter is abuzz, and people are all talking about what a man. What was Steve Jobs like, Braden?
What was he like? Well, I believe the most common used word with him is visionary. I mean, he's basically one of the tech leaders of our time, or any time for computer's sake. I mean, there would be no Mac as we know it without him. From the beginning, from the part where he came back to Apple, I mean, it just wouldn't be the same. I've been watching some news clips and past reels and stuff of his. The best one, go check out his talk to Stanford at Stanford College, which was, I believe, 3 years ago. And he tells some great stories on that. I'm sure you can find all these on YouTube, and they'll probably be played in the news and everything now. But, I mean, we probably wouldn't even be using graphical user interfaces like we would be, like we're using them now if it weren't for this guy. So, yeah, I think it's really sad.
Yeah, in the Steve Jobs Stanford speech, I mean, it has well over 6 million views on YouTube.
I bet you that doubles in the next 48 hours.
Probably maybe plus 1 million. But he talks about how Steve always had his outlook on life, that today might be the last day of his death. And lots of people say that, but people who knew Steve Jobs say that he actually did live that to the fullest, live that kind of outlook on life. And he kind of had Leo Laporte is a tech journalist. He was talking about it today, how Steve Jobs had a Buddhist kind of religion and outlook on life, and he was a very simple man. He lived simply, and that permeated his life.
Very much. And
it's just sad that he passed away tonight.
You said today earlier. I was going to correct you. I mean, this just really happened just a few hours ago that we found out, and I was sent an IM from Wes Karmazin, if he's in the chat room. Hi there. Thanks for pointing that out. And I think Apple's website right now is like a great homage. I mean, no big wordy thing that like all the news people are doing right now. Just the picture with the dates, and I think it's a great tribute. I've already sent them in my little email of saying condolences and stuff. You can send your it is Remembering Steve, is that right? Remembering Steve at apple.com?
Yeah, just go to apple.com. It's all the information is there. It's a simple website. Apple.com is I'm always impressed with apple.com. They keep it really simple, and yet you can get to everything really easily. That you can tell they put a lot of work into it.
Right.
But I mean, even Google.com right now has a very simple homage to Steve.
I haven't seen Google.
Right below the search box, there's just a link to Apple, and it says Steve Jobs 1955 to 2011, which is, I mean, you can't put up a Google Doodle or anything, but at least Google is paying tribute to this man who really impacted technology. Like even President Obama put out a statement.
Really?
Which says a lot about how much.
Yeah, very much so.
The Americans really perceive Steve to that he has impacted technology, but also impacted the world, representing the United States. So
that's Google's site right now. I wanted to jump back to the websites real quick. Have you seen Boeing's page? They're using the old Apple II interface, the first basically GUI that Apple used as more or less their background and everything.
Oh, Boing. I thought you meant I thought you said Boeing.
No, boing boing. What did I say?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
mumbling and
boing
all
boing.
kinds of stuff tonight. Yes, boing boing.
That's hilarious. I
Yeah,
I
I really
remember
like that one.
my family's computer was an Apple II back in the day.
Wow.
Played a
Well,
lot of had some sort of brick breaker game or something. I played a lot of that. That
right.
was good times.
My first one was a Macintosh, which is what's bringing you this stream tonight, and iPad sitting in front of me where I can read the chat room. So, I mean, I'm surrounded by stuff that this guy but definitely had a hand in making and, creating. So, it's a sad night. Other than that, I'm, kind of at a loss for words. I find inspiration out of all this because I mean, we're gonna start losing the very early people in the tech industry, and we already have lost some of them and stuff, and their names are gonna escape me at the moment. But I mean, basically, all the people that started this whole computer and digital revolution are, they're getting up there in age, and now it's up to us to take up that kind of mantle that they've bestowed upon us and keep this technology revolution going.
That's
What
true.
do you think?
But it's interesting that we're basically in we're still in frankly the early stages of the big computing revolution.
I
Really,
agree.
it started. I mean, it started in I guess the 50s and 60s with the early computers of like calculating like basic numbers and I mean it goes back to the war, right, when the military funded some of the computational sciences.
Right.
Um, but really things got going in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And it's really interesting that we still have a lot of those people here from the early days.
Mm-hmm.
And you're exactly right. People are going to start passing away, and a lot of that history is going to be lost. I think the solace to take in that is that the internet is an amazing place to store data. As
Yes, it
we
is.
joke about a lot, like things you put on the net probably won't go away. You can if you post a funny video of yourself, you should assume that that'll be archived somewhere forever. Um,
I have the crazy theory that basically anything ever recorded video-wise will eventually be on the internet, no matter what medium it was. I think we'll get to the point to where you will be able to wirelessly take video from a VHS tape. I think the technology could be there someday.
yeah, I mean you'll have to have some sort of reader, but that certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So,
things like archive.org, things like museums
mm-hmm.
who are doing a good job at doing this. Heck, even the Google Books project, which a lot of
Right.
people, it's very controversial, but at least they're doing something to try and get things onto the net. And those are things that kind of encapsulate or memorialize people. No matter how important you are, frankly, like whether you're Steve Jobs or you're Joe Smith, who wrote a few blog posts down the street, those blog posts will be available forever, frankly, which is probably good, but also could be interesting to when the human race looks back on it in 1,000, 2,000
True.
years.
Your grandkids will one day read what you wrote online. You have to kind of think about that, and it can kind of blow your mind a little bit. We live our lives out in the open now on a way that's always, hopefully, always going to be archived. So the historians can look back and choose what they guess they wanted to read, just like our old historians did. But how did we get on this topic?
I don't know. It's a very somber evening. But
Yeah.
do we want to? Is there any other news from this week that we want to talk about before finishing up and talking about Steve Jobs a little bit more? I guess.
Well, I mean, we have the iPhone announcement. We technically that's broken since our last episode here at Tech Talk tonight, and I mean, Mr. Cook came out there and did his darndest as far as the announcement was concerned. It wasn't a huge announcement. We got the iPhone 4S, and the biggest upgrade to that, I believe, is the voice activated commands. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, people said that. Looking back, it was a somber presentation of the iPhone 4S, and I think that makes sense considering a lot of the upper management of Apple probably knew how bad Steve's situation was getting.
Right.
But yeah, they announced a phone that's basically identical in outward look and feel to the iPhone 4, but it has a slightly better processor, as you said, better camera, and then it has the Siri voice activation system,
Right.
which is a company they bought. You could have the Siri app right now,
Right.
but apparently it's better tightly integrated into the iPhone experience. Do you think that's going to catch on, Brayden? I don't know if that's going to be something that's popular.
Well, okay, so there's already a very similar thing on the Android devices, and being an Android user, I don't use it that much, to be honest. But then again, I don't normally put myself into situations where I would need voiceover commands. And I try not to text and drive or really call that much while driving. But I don't know. I actually
people say that it's going to be the revolutionary thing that iPhone this version of iPhone brings. I really don't know about that. I don't know if people will use it.
To be honest, I'm more impressed by the or not the video camera, but just the new camera that's in there. Having seen some of the photos now that are coming out that have been created from this new camera, I'm impressed. That'll be very nice. I mean, where does this put like professional photographers when the iPhone can take better pictures than most consumer cameras out there right now?
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things where the cameras in phones are getting so amazing. Like, we've been saying this for a little bit, but now it's really true that like it used to be like in the 90s when your parents had when you were born, Brayden, your parents went out and bought a camera. They may have bought a video camera. These were all expensive items, and they were special, separate things.
My mom was a photography student for a while, so she already had the camera and the skills and stuff back then. But then again, she was the one, giving birth to me. But anyway, besides the point, back to you.
Yeah, but now no one does that, right? Like,
no, not really.
Your iPhone or your camera phone is great to take a bunch of those pictures, and maybe like the geeks will have the high quality cameras still, and those won't go away. But most people just use your camera phone now, which is a major change in how society has worked.
Had I known we were going to get on cameras, I would have looked up more of the specifics. But the new Canon, it's the predecessor to the 5D Mark II. I think it's the 5D Mark III. But I saw some pictures from it today, and what they did was take a picture of a dog's face and then zoomed into his eye and looked at all the reflected image in the dog's eye. So the resolution has really gone up as far as the prosumer type grade cameras as well. Canon D5 Mark III is probably more professional than prosumer, and I'm sure it has a pretty price point. Like I said, I should have looked up all the specifics, but I think Canon and Nikon realize that phones are starting to catch up with them, so they're going to try to knock it out of the park now here too. But do you need that much resolution?
No, you don't. Like, I mean, professional photographers, okay, yeah, it's better. But anyone else? No.
Probably
not.
not.
The most interesting thing to come out of higher quality cameras will be some of the revolutionary things like we were talking about a few months ago, where they have this cameras are so good that they can take pictures at all the different f-stop levels, is that right, Brian? The focal lengths.
Yep.
At the same time, so that you don't even have to worry about focus anymore. Yep. You can just take a photo and focus it later, as it were.
Exactly.
So
now,
that'll be interesting.
Okay, so looking ahead, what do we want cameras to do? I can think of one thing that would be kind of cool. Not just 3D photos or whatever, but I want to, like, stick my phone up in the air and take a full 360 shot that I can pan around in. How cool would that be? And I think the technology is pretty much there, but more or less completely 300. But that's stitching a bunch of photos together. I want it to be all in one photo.
Nah. I mean, then you've got, like, all that video things, and, I mean, I think you'll always have to take images.
Probably, but...
Maybe someday.
Okay.
The thing is, the shutter speed has to be fast enough for that, right?
True.
So that you can take tons of higher quality images back to back.
And link them all together, yep.
Another tiny thing that actually the Apple fanboys were really getting all excited about was that the camera on time of the new iPhone is much shorter. So when you click the camera app, it'll come up in like what 1.4 seconds now instead of like 2 seconds or something. I don't know.
Okay, so when they were pushing the button to take a picture, it was stuttering almost a little bit before it took the picture.
No. This is before you even click the button. It's from the camera off mode to the camera on mode.
Oh, I see.
So that's okay. So there's two
I got you.
statistics. That's one of the statistics. The other statistic is after you take a photo, how soon can you take another?
Mm-hmm.
That's the other. That's the other thing. For many Android phones, that's really long. iPhone is working to shorten that.
Right.
It's an extremely minor point, but I guess it's one of those things that Apple feels is important.
Gotcha. Any other? I mean, they had an entire keynote about just this one event.
It was a waste of time.
Was it?
There's like
I was afraid of that.
it's like a camera or
New iPods.
a card app where you can send actual cards. Real cool.
Yeah.
New iPods.
New iPods.
No, there's not new iPods.
No?
There
New
were new.
updated software? Something about, I know the iPod Nano now has like a bunch of different clock interfaces. So for those of you that want to wear an iPod Nano on your wrist, you can have a whole bunch of different types of style of clock. I saw that in a story.
Oh.
No, you can't yawn.
Yeah.
For the love of God. First off, you should be sad and like have a box of tissues next to you, and then second, you should be overly excited about all the tech that's going on these days, and we're here to talk about it and bring it to our viewers.
I mean, I guess if we want to just finish up real quick with some Steve Jobs, I think that
Okay.
I think we shouldn't necessarily be sad. I think he's certainly lived a full life. I mean, he lived what
56.
56 or 57 years. I mean,
That's not that long.
That's shorter than a lot of people live, but I feel like he's lived a full life in that he's been successful. He's had his ups and downs, but he ended on a upswing. He's impacted the world. Like everyone knows him. Like I mean, he's lived a pretty good life comparatively. Probably all of his own
57.
accord. He's worked hard.
57. That's, I mean, what could else have he done in these last 20 years? Or another 20 years. I shouldn't say the last 20 years. He could have lived to 100. I mean, it really seems like it got cut short. I mean, cancer, damn. Why? I know.
That is interesting. What would he have done in the next, give him 20 years until he becomes an old crotchety crazy guy.
Right.
But what have he done in the next 20 years? That would have been interesting. Would he have revolutionized, he revolutionized the cell phone market, the
portable music
industry, the personal computer. Like, where would he go from there? The iCar? I want to see an iCar, frankly.
Well, I kind of think, okay, look at Bill Gates right now. I mean, that's kind of a fair assessment as far as a comparison.
I don't know if you can compare that.
But
okay, go on.
Bill has gone on. He's retired from Microsoft. I'm sure he's still on the board in some way, shape, or form, but he's focusing on the Bill and Linda Gates Foundation. So he's out there doing charity and stuff. Could we have not gotten to that point with Steve Jobs as well, to where he was, trying to revolutionize donation in some way, to where he was helping, fellow man in a different way, not necessarily in the computer realm?
Well, if you want to go that way, like why would that be his second? Why is that his second opportunity? Why did he not attack that first instead of
because he was
instead of giving the first world little gadgets to play with? Why didn't he actually impact people's lives who are suffering and things? I mean, you can really go down that road, but
that's true. But he was a man with an idea. Well, he was a man with gumption and know-how to get ideas done. Let's put it that way.
It's true.
And
he did have some good ideas, I think.
Yeah, but I think eventually he could have turned his ideas towards a different, more for the humankind as opposed to just computer realm. But I mean, that's what he thought he was doing at the time. He was trying to revolutionize the world through computer, and that's what he did, or at least contributed to. So.
Yeah, I think he certainly did. he definitely improved the world through the advancement of technology, which has, I mean, wide implications, I'm sure, to the third world as well. Just in that the increase in personal computer technology that he spurned uh, provided projects like one laptop per child and things like that to get off the ground and help get technology out there to other places in the world who don't have it. So, I mean, yeah, he could have done a lot in the kind of in the charity world. So yeah.
And now I lost my train of thought. Awesome. Okay. So I was just gonna say I'm really glad that we're here talking about this tonight because tonight it's kind of all shocking and new. I'm afraid tomorrow afternoon, that's when all the parodies I think will start coming out because this is such an internet story. So obviously there has to be parodies and jokes of it eventually. So yeah, look forward to those. Not really. Anyway,
It's too soon.
it's too soon, but it's gonna happen. It is going to happen, though. You know it will, and I don't know. I'm just not going to click on them as best I can. We have a lot of viewers in the chat room tonight, and we want to thank them for being here. Also, something new for our viewers: we've started our own subreddit. Reddit. Is that how you're saying it?
Yep.
All right.
1 second, I'll be right back.
1 second, you'll be right. What? All right, we've lost Gavin because he's obviously needs a tissue to blow his nose because of the sad news. You can go to Reddit, reddit.com/r/Tech Talk Tonight, and this is where we'll be posting stories from now on. And in there, you can kind of upvote which stories you want us to talk about and stuff. And absolutely, you can suggest stories to talk about. Obviously, tonight.
I hope we have more people on our Reddit than like 3. Is all I hope.
Well, right now it's only 2, so you know.
Come on, Dryden, you can do it. I don't think many of Reddit is such a geek thing. I don't even know if many of our listeners are even on Reddit.
But I don't know. It's a platform in which we can utilize to upvote and talk about stories before we get here and start talking about them at night.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
I think it'll work well.
Go there.
Which also, since
we have a subdomain too, is it like techtalktonight.reddit.com, or do you need to be a special?
I just have to set up the domain to do that yet.
No, techtalktonight.reddit.com sometimes works. Yeah, it does. So you can go to techtalktonight.reddit.com.
That works already?
You forget the /r.
Oh. Well, awesome.
You have to set up the reddit.techtalktonight.com. But for reddit.com
that makes sense.
Things, it always forwards. Whatever .reddit.com always works.
Okay. Got it.
Got it, good. Everybody check me out at gavinar.com. There's a new SEO post for all you SEO fans. I know you're all out there listening and excited about it. So
SEO? What the heck's SEO?
Well, you have to go there to find out.
I guess so. I also talk about that over at the Where is Highland, Illinois on the Internet blog, which is you can find on henzydigitalmedia.com. That's one of my recent projects that I'm doing for school. So, come check us out there, too. We're working on a new website for Tech Talk Tonight as well. It's not going to look too much different. I'm just switching over servers to the one, that's bringing you this. We'll see if it works eventually. We're hopefully going to get some fiber down here, and, it'll be great.
I'm predicting 70% uptime.
70%?
We'll track it.
Okay. I'll take that challenge.
Okay. No, if it's a challenge, I'm going to challenge you to 98%.
No. You have your 70. You'll place money on that. I'll place, money on the studio working about 40% of the time because I'm an optimist. And we'll call it a show. How about that?
All right. And you still owe me ski.
Yes, I do.
All right. See ya, you guys, everybody. Have a good night.
And I'm Braden Henzy. Thank you all for being here. Follow me on Twitter @BradenH. See you next Wednesday.